What is going on, guys? It's Jake. We're back again for another YouTube video. Today we're going to be working on the 05. You guys know what's going on with the car, but today we're going to be taking out the AC for reasons I can't yet say. Just the only thing I can say is the intake manifold, so you guys are going to have to wait and see that one. So we're going to go ahead and get this AC off. If you like this type of content, be sure to drop a like, hit that subscribe button. First thing we're probably going to do is get this thing unbolted here. Looks like just a 10mm. I'm actually gonna bleed this off as well, but I'm gonna put you guys up on a little time lapse. This shouldn't be too terribly hard. It's just some hard lines here, and we're gonna get that unbolted under there in two places, and then we're gonna get the core out. Now, my strategy with this is to keep everything together, so then that way, if I ever do wanna put it back in the car, I'll just have to put it back in the car, rather than if I unhook hoses and leave the HVAC unit in there, like the core piece, then it'll make it a little more challenging. So we're gonna do it that way and we'll get after it. So I'll put you guys on a time lapse. Stay tuned. So as you can see, we got the AC out. It was actually pretty simple. There was just two bolts up here that went through these holes right here on each side, and then it just set down in these holes right here that you can see on both sides. A little grommet piece stuck on the frame there, but yeah, there was just a couple little clips on the bottom here that held the line in place, and then there was one 10mm here. Now the only thing I can say, when you bleed it, aka get all of the charge out of the system, there's going to be a little yellow looking oil that's going to come out, but it's definitely just 100% normal. That's what all the systems have in it. So just want to make sure you have a rag over it when you bleed it, so that way you don't get it everywhere. But yeah, I think the next step to try to get a little more cleaned up here in this engine bay is to get these fuel lines out of here. So I'm gonna be running a 8 AN feed and a 6 AN return, and all these are 6 AN. So none of this stuff is actually gonna be useful to me anymore. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unhook all this stuff, get it all out of here, get it all cleaned up. Debating on keeping this fuel filter in here or not. I'll probably pull it out for now just to kind of clean it up and see what I'm working with. But yeah, let's go ahead and get these fuel lines off, try to clean this engine bay up a little bit. I'm probably gonna take off the heater core hoses and the brake booster vacuum line as well, but let's get into it. Alright guys, so we got all the fuel system out, we got the fuel filter out, and then all the AN fittings and lines and all that good stuff. We got the fuel pressure regulator out, and now what I'm thinking about doing is, since I've decided to delete the windshield wipers and the windshield wiper motor, this is actually the plug that goes to the windshield wiper motor, and it runs all the way back down. If you follow it on the firewall, all the way back down to this harness right here, which went to the automatic transmission but is no longer used. It's just this harness coming out of here. So I'm gonna actually peel this harness back, because The only reason that this is up here is for the windshield wiper motor and then this brake master cylinder. So I'm gonna actually peel the harness all the way back, get it off of this firewall, and then basically separate this harness from this harness, and hopefully be able to just run that harness discreetly under here back up to this. And then I'm thinking about getting the brake booster rotated around as well, but I'm not quite sure yet how far we'll get. So stay tuned and we'll put you guys on another time lapse and get it done. So you can see we have the whole wire loom off of the windshield wiper motor harness. So I'm gonna actually not cut any of these off. I'm gonna leave them all together, but I'm definitely gonna tape them up and then put another wire loom on them and then wire tie them to this piece. Or potentially, I'm not quite sure, but we might take this grommet out eventually and pull all of these automatic wiring harnesses up and out through there, so that way there's only a couple wires coming through there and make it look a lot more clean. And these obviously had no need after we swapped it, so we could get those in the cabin. That would be a lot better. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and tape these up for now. I'm not gonna tie it up or anything, but I'm gonna tape it up and then put some wire loom on it, make it look real nice, and do the exact same thing with our master cylinder plug. So that way that will look good when it's going up there and there's no extra stuff running across the top of that firewall. So like I said in other videos, we're gonna be getting rid of this ABS soon, but gotta do one thing at a time here, stay organized. So let's get this done. All right guys, it's currently the next day. I didn't do too much more last night, but I've kind of started here this morning. I decided that I'm gonna try to do my best to convert these harnesses that are coming out of this grommet right here over to this grommet right here, so that way I can put a plug in that hole and it'll clean up the back of the firewall a little bit. But we want to try to get these plugs through that grommet and get these plugs back there and wire tie them up somewhere, so that way we can put a plug in that hole and clean up that firewall there. So I'm gonna take out the glove box and maybe take out the fan to see if I can get to the back, and we'll try to pull these wires back through and at least get that done today. So real quick, I wanted to give you a little update. We have the harness completely undone from that original grommet, and these three harnesses right here, like I showed you guys earlier, they're not going to be used, but I've just retaped all of them, so then there are no chance that one could get split and ground out. Now these two wires are actually the ones that I need. This one goes to the master cylinder, and then this one goes to this transmission plug right here. So I need both of them, but I'm thinking about lengthening this harness down here and sending it through this grommet and then plugging it in under the dash, so that way it could be really clean. And then we'll do the same thing with this one, except we won't need to lengthen this one. We can just bring it through that grommet, feed it down under here and over to our master cylinder real discreetly. And we'll put some wire loom on it where it comes out of the grommet here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I have a piece of mechanics wire ran through the dash right now, so I'm gonna try to pull this one through first, get it coming out of this grommet, make sure it's long enough, and then we'll try to worry about this one next, lengthening these wires, and then we'll just push all these back up into the firewall, so that way we can put a grommet in that hole and it'll look real discreet. So yeah, stay tuned, we'll keep you guys up to date. So I'm modifying the O2 sensor harness. This is the piece that I was telling you that came out of the firewall that we needed for the O2 sensor. Obviously I didn't know it was O2 sensor, but I figured that out shortly after. I really quickly wanted to show you guys, look, you can do anything. I am no wiring expert at all. And I basically soldered these together and then shrink tubed them. So I'm basically lengthening this harness, and the reason why I cut it so short is because on the other side there's this weird double walled wire here that is kind of not ideal, and it didn't give us much room to work with. But you guys might be like, look, it's some janky work. We're getting it right. I'm gonna do that to all 4 of these, connect the same length to them, and then we're gonna tape the whole harness up and it'll be perfect. So just as good as factory. I'm gonna catch up with you guys when I get that done. All right guys, so we got all the wires pulled through. Sorry I didn't really film too much of that, but there's the O2 sensor harness right here, you can see, and that is right where I spliced it. I've already taped the whole harness up, and I plan on putting some wire loom around there, but we pulled it through this hole in the firewall instead of this hole, and all of the plugs and wires that were coming out of this hole that were not used were pulled back into the firewall. And I have the glove box out to help me a little bit, and you can see the wires hanging in here, and I'm gonna have to wire tie them and tuck them up. But I'm really happy with how it turned out here. And I made this plug to go in here. It wasn't quite the right size, and I didn't want it to hurt these wires, so I ground it down a little bit and I painted it because it was white. But yeah, it goes right in there now, and it's gonna really clean up the engine bay. So we're gonna close out the video there for the day, and I do have big plans for these right here and also the ABS, but stay tuned. We'll keep you guys up to date. We'll be back for another video soon. Like, subscribe. Peace.